What we'd like to talk about today is the Calocedrus Decurrens, the California native incense cedar. This is the cedar chest cedar that we know of. The main pruning, the main management that incense cedars require is the removal of competition plants or contact plants around them. So we want them to rise without interference. It's a tree that's very sensitive to canopy interference. They have the so-called canopy shyness. If they come in contact with another tree, they always yield. Or if deep shadow is cast on them, it'll shade out their tips and they die back. So we have to give the incense cedar its own space, its own room to rise without interference. And of course, we always want to plant in such a way that we're not under power lines, overhead wires, or utility grids, or large neighboring trees. We're at about 2,400 feet elevation here in the California foothills. And we see a tree here being grown in the benign neglect management style. We're not doing anything to the tree. In fact, we're giving it very little irrigation. But what we've seen here now has risen up right next to it is a Fraxinus modesto ash. This is a powerhouse of a tree and a strong competitor, and could easily overwhelm the valuable incense cedar. So in the pruning, in the care, in the management of the incense cedar, we prune almost nothing from the tree itself. What we're mainly doing is pruning a window of space for the tree to rise up uninterfered. So this is what we've got going on here now, is this ash has shot up and grown very quickly. It's a fraction of the age of the incense cedar back here, which is about 18 years old or so since it went in the ground. The trunk is only about 6 or 8 inches in diameter. They're slow to grow, but they live a very long time. So our targeted cuts are not on the cedar, but on its competition tree, the ash. So we're going to make 3 important cuts here and give the cedar the space that it needs. We're not removing the ash because we would like to keep its root system to stabilize this steep bank to the advantage of the incense cedar. So we're going to use the root system to hold together this steep bluff using the root system of the ash. So we're going to make 3 distinctive cuts here to free the incense cedar. Number 1, we're going to lose this trunk right here. There we go. Okay, there's 1. We have a second cut right here. This up pointer with the arch is really in the face of the incense cedar, so we're going to take it as well. And we have 1 additional cut, this arch right here. There we go. That's what this incense cedar needed, breathing room. And so we've given it that. This is another case where a large tree, a mature incense cedar, is having the rivalry of the Fraxinus modesto ash. We see the multiple trunks rising up over here. There's about a dozen trunks rising from an old stump. Those will become high individual leaders that will cast a shadow and make contact competition with the sensitive incense cedar. They do have the vulnerability of canopy shyness. If another tree comes into contact with the incense cedar, it's going to suppress it. So we're going to eliminate that competition, even in the case of a mature tree, where the tree has a 7-foot trunk circumference at chest height, at 54-inch height, and is perhaps 75 feet high. But it is still not safe from contact competition, even though it's in mature form. So we're going to weigh on the side of preservation of the cedar and remove these root crown shoots from the old ash and give this space over to the incense cedar. That did make a huge difference. Some of those shoots are 12 and 14 feet high from the ash trunks. There was about a dozen significant trunks. They're all down now, plus about maybe another dozen small little pencil-sized shoots from the Fraxinus modesto ash. We're going to retain this 1 tree. We have a small Quercus agrifolia, California live oak, which is also a native, and it does not represent a serious challenge to the incense cedar yet. So we're going to allow this native to remain. And the incense cedar is now liberated.